Now on HTV, we go live to Hockenheim for the German Grand Prix.
The McLarens are in the firing line at Hockenheim. Jacques Villeneuve's driving like a world champion in the Williams. Ralf Schumacher's outshone elder brother Michael. His star is rising. And Damon Hill's back on song, enjoying his best weekend of the season. Welcome to Hockenheim. You join 130,000 fans at this super fast circuit. It's race day, overcast, a bit of rain in the air as well, for the German Grand Prix. Hello, good afternoon to you all. The McLarens of Mika Häkkinen and Britain's David Coulthard have run the show so far. Häkkinen on pole, David Coulthard quickest in this morning's warm-up. World champion Jacques Villeneuve going pretty well in the Williams, and then come the Jordans, Ralf Schumacher and Britain's Damon Hill. Delighted to say Eddie Jordan is with us as part of our pre-race build-up. Hi Eddie, we will talk in a moment. And Tony Jardine with us as always too. Well, the driver's merry-go-round is gradually sorting itself out. Eddie Irvine and Michael Schumacher will be staying at Ferrari, and McLaren have announced same again for 1999. Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard will carry on driving for McLaren and team boss Ron Dennis.
They are two of the best. More importantly, they're getting better. There's a steely resolve to the end of this season, coming from both them and also within the team. And it was good to put behind us the issue of next year in order that we can really concentrate on the next few races.
They're concentrating on the next few races. They're going pretty well here at the moment, aren't they, Eddie? What about your driver lineup? What's the latest spec on that?
Thought you might get on to something like that at this stage.
Just
trying to embarrass me for the start. Well, we're just putting the final touches. It's been very clear that Hill and Schumacher is our chosen choice, and we're working to achieve that, and everybody is actually trying to do the same.
Okay, we might talk a little bit more about both drivers in a few minutes' time, but let me update you on what exactly happened in the qualifying session. James Allen has news of another excellent hour for that McLaren team.
Michael Schumacher has never started his home Grand Prix from pole position, and now he's going to have to wait another year. Qualifying yesterday was a McLaren-Mercedes affair, but behind them it was quite a battle. Mika Häkkinen has made a habit of setting a blistering pace first lap out, and once again he delivered, the silver arrow finding its target. Michael Schumacher was in the spare car after a series of problems in the morning, and he just couldn't find the speed. David Coulthard was looking strong in the second McLaren as the lap times began to tumble.
Yes, oh, David, you nearly lost that. This is going to put him in a superb time.
The 1998 specification cars are twitchy in low downforce setup, and Tora Takagi came a cropper in the quick first corner, virtually destroying his Tyrrell. Coulthard's hopes of holding onto pole were ruined by a failure in his Mercedes engine. He ran back to take the spare car, but just couldn't get it up to speed. Into the final minutes of qualifying, the pressure was on Schumacher, languishing down in 9th place, but traffic in the form of Diniz spoiled everything.
That's blown the lap for Michael Schumacher.
Jordan has always gone well at Hockenheim, and both Ralf Schumacher and Damon Hill were solidly in the top 5. A new Evolution Mugen engine giving them the necessary oomph to mix it with the big boys. But the story of the day was Jacques Villeneuve's third place. The world champion flew in the Williams, bringing back memories of days gone by. His time less than 200ths off David Coulthard's second place. Make no mistake, the pace was furious. Mika Häkkinen is the first 1998 car to get inside the 1997 pole time. So much for slowing the cars down.
Obviously, we get the advantage on the straight line. We're pulling high speeds here on the straight line, which is very impressive. Like yesterday, we were going like 357 kilometers per hour, which is really quick. And like tomorrow in a race, we're going to see some serious speeds, I reckon.
After my engine problem, when I made the lap in the spare car set up for Mika, the track felt as if it was offering a bit more grip, but I just didn't have the feel for that car, and in hindsight, really, I just have to be thankful that Jacques didn't pit me.
It's our best performance in qualifying in competitiveness, maybe not in position, but it's every lap we could do a quick lap, and the car seems to be strong, so it's looking good for the race.
I just hope that I'm going to have a good race, and we see what happens. It's just a shame we can't carry on running our new spec engine because we just had one for the qualifying, which is going to hurt us tomorrow.
I only did 3 laps this morning, doesn't help, but it's not the main reason. I mean, Eddie is 1.4 seconds off the front. It should not be the case, but we are, so we have to find out and work and work and work.
And so the grid, the Silver Arrows, Häkkinen and Coulthard out front. Villeneuve third, same as Silverstone. Fourth, Ralf Schumacher's best yet. Damon Hill up there at the classy end. Eddie Irvine out-qualifies Michael Schumacher. Then the Bennettons, Wirtz and Fisichella. Michael Schumacher with plenty to do. Frentzen completing a German fifth row. The Saubers of Alesi and Britain's Johnny Herbert. Barrichello Stewart and Truly's Prost. Takagi carries Tyrrell's challenge, then Olivier Panis. The Arrows of Salo and Deniz. Verstappen in front of the Minardis of Nakano and Tuero. Rosset's Tyrrell ruled out after an accident in practice. Okay then, so Michael Schumacher saying Ferrari have a lot of work to do. They need a big result this afternoon, Tony. What's gone wrong so far?
Big problem here for them because they came with a long wheelbase car which they tested at Monza. It went very, very well. What they haven't reckoned with, that was good on the long, fast curves. But when you get on the long straights here and the short little chicanes, it wasn't working. They had to swap back to the other car. They actually admitted to me last night and just said, look, McLaren have got a superior aerodynamic package. We can't cope with it at the moment.
Eddie, I've got to talk to you about Damon Hill. Best weekend of 98 so far. What really are your hopes for Damon this afternoon?
Well, I think Damon has come into a team that already Ralf had been in from last year. So there's always, you know, in the beginning, finding your feet, so to speak. And Ralf has been particularly quick. So he's put a lot of pressure under Damon. But Damon now is responding. His testing is remarkable. Really, we owe a lot to the way the car has improved. To both drivers, really. But Damon is very clear. He's got a lot of experience. So Damon, I think, really needs a good result here. Fifth on the grid. We won't talk about strategy, but I want to see how it pans out here because I think Damon is in a good chance for a lot of points today, all going well, of course.
Have there been times this season when you wondered about the wisdom of signing Damon Hill?
I thought many times about the wisdom of being in motorsport myself because I was about to slip my wrist about 50 times, particularly around Monaco time. But you know, you grow out of that and you get used to it. I'm in this business perhaps 30 years as you're a driver or some form anyway. And you have your very big times and you have your very low times. And Monaco is one of the low times and today is one of the high times. So I'm enjoying it.
And just again, looking to the future, lots of speculation all surrounds Damon. Would you expect him to be wearing the Jordan livery next season?
Yes, I'd be very disappointed if he didn't, because it was always structured around a 2-year plan. Of course, you have to take credence to what personal opinion is. It could be if Damon came to me and said he wanted to stop. It's not really having a driver who wants to stop in your car, because that would be futile. But nevertheless, I think all things being equal and subject to a couple of dotting I's and T's and stuff, we're on the road again.
Good, okay, and more from Eddie in just a few minutes' time. Let's take a closer look now at this Hockenheim circuit. It certainly is the quickest one we've visited so far this season. Mika Häkkinen reaching that astonishing speed over 222 miles an hour on Friday. Right then, let's join Martin Brundle. He's all set to ride shotgun with the pole sitter, Mika Häkkinen.
Hockenheim, 4¼ miles of tortuous tarmac, part show business through the stadium, part magical mystery tour into the forest. We're on board with pole sitter Mika Hakkinen as he heads down the pit straight into turn 1, the Nord curve. 110 miles an hour, do not touch the curb on the inside, run wide on the exit. It's very bumpy, but important to get a good run out down towards the first chicane. That's called the Jim Clark curve. You're going to be doing 220 miles an hour. Just listen to this engine on full song as he heads towards that chicane. Braking very hard, down to just 55 miles an hour. He's waiting with the throttle. It's very, very bumpy on the exit. Look at the curb he's using. And once again, building up to 210 miles an hour before the Ost curve. Now, this is something like a cul-de-sac when you're heading towards it. Look, where does the track go? Brake very, very hard, bumpy on the way in. Take the curb in the middle. Mind that curb on the left. Well out of shape there for Hakkinen. And now it's a long, long sweeping right-hander into the third of the long straights, heading towards the Ayrton Senna curve. Again, over 200 miles an hour. Look now on the right-hand side for a marker board and brake desperately late. Bit of curb on the entry. Now run wide, very, very wide. It's tarmac in there, you can use it. It's bumpy as you leap off, the revs scream. And now the fourth straight. You're heading towards the stadium complex. Again, over 200 miles an hour, but this time it's a fast right-hander. Just down to fourth. You can run really wide on the exit to get maximum acceleration into the Sachs curve, second gear. Again, 55 miles an hour. You have to wait a long time. Look for a little blind chicane over the top. Now the road is off camber. Brake very lightly. Listen to him playing with the throttle. And if you've driven that stadium complex well, you'll have a good lap time. Drive to the line, you could well be on pole.
He is on pole, of course. Mika Hakkinen 8 points clear of Michael Schumacher after that win in Austria. Just 4 points separating Coulthard and Irvine, and Wirtz and Fisichella having their own private duel in the Benettons. In the Constructors' Championship, well, Ferrari know they mustn't allow McLaren to increase that 12-point lead. But as we've been saying so far in Germany, Ferrari have been struggling. McLaren's, though, extra keen to win this one. The paddock really overflowing by top brass from their sponsors. But Mercedes know they haven't won a World Championship Grand Prix in Germany for 44 years. Let's join Murray Walker now, shall we? He's found some old friends.
For Grand Prix traditionalists, there's no greater name than Mercedes-Benz, the fabled Silver Arrows. This is the car the immortal Juan Manuel Fangio drove in 1954. And the great Rudolf Caracciola drove this one in 1939. Here is the 300 SLR sports car, which Stirling Moss drove to victory in the 1955 Mia Emilia. Now, it's a moot point whether Germany would rather see Michael Schumacher in a Ferrari or a Mercedes-Benz powered McLaren win today, but either way, they could be satisfied.
Thanks, Murray. Amazing support for Michael Schumacher. You just listen out for the fireworks and the klaxons as the double world champion enters the stadium. Quite simply, Schumi is their man.
It's party time in Hockenheim. The Germans enjoy their motorsport and they come here in their thousands to cheer on one man. Although when spirits are high, it's sometimes difficult to remember his name.
The driver in the Formula 1 is Formula 1, Michael Schumacher.
The support for Germany's national hero is enormous. The stadium is a red sea of flags and banners, and the gesture's not lost on the man himself.
As it is my home Grand Prix, I know they support me 100%. The Germans, together with the Italians, are very emotional, and they're supporting Ferrari, myself, by a big percentage in a very enthusiastic way, which makes it more obvious than in other countries.
It's a multi-million-dollar business for Michael, but even so, the adulation can get out of hand sometimes. He has to vary his route to the track each day to avoid being mobbed, and once inside the paddock, there's still no escape. But fame has its benefits. When it comes to charity football games like this week, you always get picked for the team.
The good thing is we had a lot of professional people with us, so the passes were quite good, and you could deal with the ball a bit better than you can do with bad players. But as you have seen, I missed a couple of opportunities, and it means I need to practice a bit further.
Did your team win?
Yeah, we won. Yeah.
Did you get a goal?
2, actually. I scored a penalty. And the last goal I did by myself, and it was pretty nice.
Boris Becker played. He's here today. So did Rudi Voller. 6-4 or 7-5 it was for Michael Schumacher's team, all in aid of UNESCO, the children's charity. Decent penalty he takes, doesn't he? Finally, let's have a word about the younger brother, shall we, Eddie, about Ralf Schumacher. What pressure on him today? Top German on the grid.
Yeah, I think this is coming of age time for Ralf. He has a lot of pressure on him. He's beaten his brother fair and square, and I think that's coming on the back of what happened in Austria, which was probably one of the highlights of that particular Grand Prix.
What did you feel about that when he held off his elder brother?
I just thought it should have happened for a few extra laps, and if he had him into the gravel trap, was, you know, that's the name of the game. I wouldn't want Michael not to finish, but I need my car to be as far up as possible. They were fighting for a position, and if Ralf made it too easy, or was playing a game with Michael, I would be furious, and I'm not sure he would then have a place in our team. So, I mean, he's a very clever individual. Ralf is driving for himself. His name is Schumacher, but that's where it ends.
But he's really pulled his season round in the last couple of races.
Well, he had a really traumatic start to the season. There were some very bad starts, there were some crashes, there were some spins. In Montreal, he didn't get off the line, and we had a number of discussions. And I think it's a very delicate position when you're there. Do you put your arm around the driver and try and cajole him and make him feel better, or do you actually get very tough? I'm not going to tell you what I did, but it seems to have worked. Because I don't know why he's doing it either.
Just finally, I know you've got to leave us now. It's just under 25 minutes to go to the off. How do you feel deep down at times like this? Does the old ticker beat on a bit?
There's always something in there. My feeling is more for the driver, because they're like gladiators. They're in there and they know what could potentially happen. We've got the safety of a circuit and we're just making the car. So there is a danger element, but I don't know whether it's danger. I think it's just a natural tension. And I think that's at the highest level of any sport, and this is no different. I'm not sure it's a danger tension. I think it's just general overall tension.
We'll be watching closely, Eddie. We appreciate you joining us today. Thanks very much indeed.
Pleasure.
Okay, let's see from James Allen now, shall we? He has the latest strategies for this afternoon's race.
Last year, Gerhard Berger won the German Grand Prix on a two-stop strategy, but Jordan's Giancarlo Fisichella was very competitive on a one-stopper. Well, this is where the teams decide their strategy. Sitting up here on the pit wall, this is Ross Brawn on Ferrari's seat. So he's got all the timing monitors, TV monitors and that sort of thing, so he can keep completely in touch with the race. Now today, the strategy is going to be very, very finely balanced. The decision of whether to go for one stop or two stops is very marginal indeed. The McLarens look able to dictate the pace comfortably on a one-stop strategy. But behind the two McLarens, the race is going to be very interesting, and the man who will hold the key to that race, in my opinion, is Eddie Irvine. I think he's going to get out front and try and hold the rest of the field up. And then Michael Schumacher on a one-stop strategy will be able to pass them in the pits. To resist this, Jordan and Williams may opt for the same plan as Schumacher, but the weight penalty is severe. The cars are a full second a lap slower with a one-stop fuel load than with a two-stop load. Also, to go for two stops, you have to push the car to the absolute limit. So, if you have any worries about reliability, you should go for a one-stopper.
Of course, all that if it's dry, and it is dry at the moment, but the forecast is an 80% chance of rain at some stage during the race. Let's go back to James. He has John Hurt with him.
Thanks, Jim. Yes, a very familiar face, John Hurt. I understand you've been a huge fan of Formula One all your life, but this is the first time you've actually been to a race, is that right?
That's absolutely right, yes. I was very fortunate at school. I had a schoolmaster who was a man called Roy Haynes, who was very into it all, and we followed the BRM and so on, you know. Remember the days of Fangio and Gonzalez, Sterling Moss and all that.
What do you make of these boys then, the modern guys?
Well, I mean, Damon Hill is actually a friend of ours, and it's, I don't know, I mean, I never met the others, but I find them just as romantic.
Damon's got quite a good chance today. Is he in a good mood, do you think?
I think he is, yes. Yes, we only saw him briefly just before, and he seems to have a confidence about him.
I'm glad you made it today. Enjoy your day.
Oh, so am I, yes. I'm really enjoying every bit.
Thank you, Ralph.
Looks as though he is. Beautiful voice. John Hurt, and we'll be hoping to have a word with Damon after the break. The stadium at Hockenheim filled by 100,000 of the noisiest fans in Formula One. The drivers really hit by a blast of sound after that lonely drive through the woods. We count down towards the start of the German Grand Prix. Welcome back to Hockenheim for the German Grand Prix. Last week in Austria, Giancarlo Fisichella was on pole in the Benetton. Problems for Giancarlo and Benetton before the start of today's race. Let's find out exactly what's going on there. Louise Goodman is with the Benetton team boss, Dave Richards.
Thanks, Jim. Dave, we've just seen your car being wheeled off the grid. What's the problem?
Well, there's an oil leak. When he turned up at the grid, there was a very major oil leak, and with just a few minutes to go before the pit lane closed, it was too difficult to diagnose it and fix it, and the best thing was just get in the T-car and get round here with the spare car.
Is he going to make it onto the grid in time?
Oh, he'll make it onto the grid in time. The T-car, of course, is set up for Alex, who, you notice the two of them, is about a foot taller, so whether he can reach the pedals or not to get it here or not is another matter.
Bad luck.
Indeed, tough like that for Giancarlo Fisichella. Just take a, that was Alexander Wurz. And that's actually, of course, it is Fisichella in the spare car that was set up for Wurz, and here's Fisichella. But of course, Wurz is one of the biggest guys in Grand Prix racing, and Fisichella's built a bit like a jockey, really, nothing of him at all. He will have problems adjusting to that particular car. Well, round about this time, Martin Brundle normally strolls down the pit lane. This afternoon, though, he has a different mission. We sent Martin to the paddock, trying to reach parts others can't reach.
This is headquarters where Bernie Ecclestone is based. He likes to keep a lot of space around him so he can look down the paddock and see what's going on. If you want to go and see him, you've got to wonder whether he's in, because the glass is darkened and you see many people walking up to the front door of this bus and then just standing and knocking like a spare bottle of champagne at a wedding while they sort of look around and think, I wonder if Bernie's actually in the bus. Bernie is in the bus, right on cue, Bernie. Well done. How are you? Great. We wanted to go inside and sort of see where you can the money and how it's all done, and you know what sort of facilities you got in there.
Yeah, you should go inside.
Can we go in?
About 6 years you should get.
Take us round. This is where you first sit, this sort of the ante-room, when you're really nervous, you're practicing your lines. What am I going to say if I get an audience with Bernie Ecclestone? What am I actually going to say to him? And then you'll hear something like, Brundle! And then you know that that's your call to go forward. And it's full of grey Alcantara, and it's all very nicely done. Very neat and tidy, as you can see, immaculate. Bernie, what can you actually do from up here? What can you see?
Not a lot. I can see everything.
Yeah?
Yes. I don't do a lot.
But what you actually look, well, obviously your work's all done before you get here at the weekend.
Absolutely.
Then. What are you looking for? I mean, you can see that all around the track. You can what? You can home in on what?
We're monitoring. This is the host broadcast feed on this left-hand screen.
Yeah.
And this is the pictures we produce for the pay-per-view with the six different channels.
Yeah.
So we keep our eye on that. What's going on.
Now, it's a fairly nerve-wracking experience to sort of come in here and see you. Have you ever imagined what it's like standing knocking on that door down there?
No. If you want to sit here, I'll go out and knock the door and see. I mean, I'm happy to learn.
But I can't give you the nerve-wracking interview when you get here.
You give me a nerve-wracking drive in that car, you'll be running around here.
Are you going to come in it?
No.
Why?
Because I'm going to have a nerve-wracking... You're going to get your own back from me over the last 20 years.
Team McLaren Mercedes have 3 motorhomes in the paddock. One for the main sponsor, one for the engine supplier Mercedes-Benz, and their own mission control. Now, there's only so much space in a Formula One paddock, as you can imagine, and they're limited on the ground area. McLaren's solution, if you can't go out, go up. And when you go up into that McLaren motorhome, you're up at the top. Ron's office, he's in a meeting at the moment, so we won't bother him, is at one end, and then we move through. And the next thing we find is the communication centre. The press officer here communicating with the world, letting them know how the McLaren team is doing so far this weekend. Then on to video entry phone, telecommunications, staying in touch with base back in England. And through then here to a 10-seater video conferencing room to speak with the sponsors and show them presentations and really do good deals with the heavy hitters. Well, we've seen where the bosses operate from at McLaren. What about the drivers? Well, they're back here underneath the bus. And in here we find David Coulthard having a crafty sip of red wine. DC, initially it looks a bit like a sort of a coal bunker back here where you operate from, but actually it's quite cosy, like a bolt hole, yeah?
Oh, this is great. This is where we come in between sessions, and we can shower in here. We've got a steam room. Can watch all the times and a video if we need to of what's happened during the session. And as it's the end of the day, we can also relax, have a glass of wine, and talk about tomorrow.
Now, we've been looking up and down the paddock to see all the sort of headquarters of various people. Do you think the drivers get a fair deal?
I'd love to have my own motorhome here, then I could be totally relaxed and entertain, you know, family and friends, but there just isn't the space in Formula One. So this is unique for the teams that I've driven for, to have your own shower. That's great, so you don't stay stinky all day.
So you've got a shower unit in here. I'm thinking of offering a new ITV F1 competition of a shower with David Coulthard. How do you feel about that?
If you can get through the door, yeah, absolutely. If you can get through the door, that's no problem. You're welcome in the shower with me.
Thanks, David.
Bad news, David. That tattooed Michael Schumacher fans won the prize. Okay, Boris Becker is here. I saw him kicking a football around with Michael Schumacher. I think he was here last year as well. Keen Formula One fan, Boris Becker. I'm sure that lots of you are turning on wondering how Damon Hill is feeling at this moment. We'll find out now. He's talking to James.
Well, Damon, this is a bit of all right, isn't it? The front of the grid again.
Well, yeah, it's much better up here. There's every chance we could have a very good race this weekend, so we're all pretty pumped up about it.
You expecting any sort of wrecking tactics from Ferrari? Obviously, Schumacher down in 9th place. They're going to have to get him up the front somehow.
Well, Irvine is behind us, so, you know, if he stays there, then there's not much he can do. I mean, I expect Michael, of course, like everyone, I'm expecting Michael to come through the field and take places from us. But, I mean, we're ahead at the moment, and there's no reason why we should give up easily the places that we've worked hard for in qualifying.
Well, sorry about that. One or two problems with the sound with Eddie Irvine, who is, of course, has out-qualified Michael Schumacher and is leading the Ferrari charge. Those Benetton mechanics still working very, very hard after Giancarlo Fisichella had to switch to the spare car. One or two anxious faces looking up into the sky. We had an unbelievable amount of rain here yesterday. It's dry at the moment, but could that rain be on the way? We'll find out in a few minutes' time when you rejoin us for the start of the German Grand Prix.